There are a few things in life you must settle within yourself, because if you don't, time will settle them for you, and not in your favor. Most people feel this, but they avoid it. They postpone decisions, ignore the questions, and learn to live around what should have been faced long ago. But what you avoid doesn't disappear. It stays with you, quietly shaping your life, limiting your choices, stealing your peace, little by little. Not all at once, just slowly, until one day you realize your life has become smaller than it could have been, and by then, time is no longer on your side. Today, I want to talk about 5 things you must settle within yourself, not someday, but now, before the opportunity to do so is gone, because the life you want depends on it. The first thing, your purpose. The first thing every man must settle is the question of his purpose, not his occupation, not his role, not the title on the door of his office or the description of his duties or the function he performs in exchange for a wage. Those things are the furniture of a man's working life, and they matter in their proper way, but they are not his purpose. His purpose is the answer to a deeper question, the question of why he is here, what he is specifically suited to contribute, what mark, however large or small, he intends to leave on the world he passes through. Most men never ask this question in earnest. They ask it briefly, perhaps in youth, and then the practical demands of a life, the need to earn, to establish, to build security, push it to the margins. And it remains there, in the margins, for the rest of a man's working years. A question he fully intends to return to someday when the time is less pressing. But here is the difficulty. A man without a clear sense of purpose is like a ship with a powerful engine and no compass. He moves, he covers distance, he exhausts fuel. But the direction is determined not by any chosen destination, but by whatever current happens to be running at the time. The expectations of others, the path of least resistance, the habit of simply continuing in the direction he started in, because changing direction requires more thought than continuing requires. A man who does not know where he is going will spend his life arriving at places he did not choose. Now, when I say purpose, I am not speaking of something mystical or grand, or beyond the reach of an ordinary man living an ordinary life. Purpose need not announce itself with trumpets. It is, in most cases, a quiet thing, discovered not by searching the far horizons, but by paying careful attention to what is near at hand. A man discovers his purpose by noticing what he returns to, what subjects he cannot leave alone, what kinds of problems he finds himself drawn to solve, what form of contribution, when he makes it, leaves him feeling that he has been genuinely useful, not merely busy, not merely productive, but genuinely, specifically useful in a way that another man might not have been. He discovers it by asking not what the world will pay him for. The world will pay for many things, but what he would do if payment were not the primary consideration. Not as a permanent arrangement. A man must earn his living, and there is no virtue in impracticality. But as a compass reading, as a way of identifying the direction in which his particular gifts most naturally and most powerfully flow. And having identified that direction, however roughly, he must commit to it, not dabble in it on weekends, not pursue it in the margins of the life he has already built. Commit to orienting the whole of his effort over time toward the thing he was most specifically equipped to do. The cost of an unpurposed life. I want to say something plainly about what it costs a man to live without purpose, because I think the cost is rarely stated directly enough to register. A man without purpose does not simply miss the satisfaction of a purposeful life. He also misses the energy, the focus, the particular quality of engagement that comes when a man is working at something that genuinely matters to him. He goes through the motions of a productive life, and the motions may be impressive to an outside observer, but inside, in the private accounting that every man keeps, something is always short. There is a heaviness in it. a subtle but persistent sense of expenditure without return, of being used without being fulfilled. And over time, this heaviness accumulates until a man arrives at 50 or 60 carrying a fatigue that has nothing to do with the amount of work he has done and everything to do with the meaning he has failed to find in it. This is a thing worth settling, and the earlier a man settles it, the more of his working life he gets to spend in the direction it points him. Settle the question of your purpose. Write it down. Not in grand, sweeping language, simply and honestly. What am I here to do? What form of contribution is most specifically mine to make? And then begin, wherever you are, with whatever you have, to move in that direction. The second thing a man must settle is his self-image. Self-image is the most powerful single force governing a man's behavior, his achievement, and his happiness. More powerful than his intelligence, more powerful than his education, more powerful than his connections or his circumstances or the opportunities available to him. Because the self-image is the standard against which a man unconsciously measures every action he takes and every result he produces. It is the picture he carries inside himself of the kind of man he is, and it functions with remarkable precision as a thermostat. A thermostat does not care what temperature you would prefer. It cares only about maintaining the temperature it is set to, and the self-image works in exactly the same way. Whatever level of achievement, income, happiness, or success a man's self-image has been set to, consciously or not, his behavior will, over time, drift back toward that level. He may rise above it temporarily, through unusual effort or favorable circumstance. He may fall below it temporarily, through setback or misfortune, but the thermostat pulls him back, always back toward the level the image has set. A man will never consistently outperform his self-image. He will always find a way, consciously or unconsciously, to return to the level it has established for him. Where the self-image comes from. The self-image is not something a man chooses deliberately. It is assembled piece by piece from the experiences of his life, beginning in earliest childhood and continuing, though at a slower rate, throughout his adult years. The things he was told about himself by the people who raised him, the way the world responded to his early efforts, the failures he could not adequately explain and so attributed to some deficiency in himself, the successes he could not fully claim and so dismissed as luck. And the great tragedy of this is that the self-image, once established, tends to perpetuate itself. A man with a poor self-image will interpret the evidence of his life in ways that confirm it. A success becomes an accident. A failure becomes proof. And the image grows more entrenched with each passing year, not because it is accurate, but because the mind is extraordinarily skilled at finding evidence for what it already believes. I have seen this operate in the lives of men of genuine ability and genuine decency who were living, by any objective measure, far below what they were capable of. Not because of any lack of talent or effort, but because somewhere inside, in the image they carried of themselves, they did not believe they deserved more. They did not believe they were the kind of man to whom better things naturally came. And so better things did not come, not because the world withheld them, but because the man, without ever quite knowing he was doing so, consistently declined them. How a man changes his self-image. The self-image can be changed. It is not fixed. It is not a life sentence. But changing it requires something that most men are reluctant to give: sustained, deliberate, patient attention. It begins with examination. A man must look honestly at the picture he carries of himself and ask, is this accurate? Is this image based on a fair and current assessment of who I am and what I am capable of? Or is it an old picture, assembled from old evidence, from the judgments of people whose opinions I have long since outgrown, from failures that are ancient history and have no bearing on who I am today? Most men, when they examine the image honestly, find that it is significantly out of date. that they are living by a self-assessment formed in youth, shaped by the limited perspective of those around them at the time, and never seriously revised in the light of everything they have since learned, experienced, and become. The revision is not a matter of self-flattery. It is a matter of honest reassessment. A man looks at his actual record, the things he has genuinely accomplished, the difficulties he has genuinely overcome, the qualities he has genuinely demonstrated, and he builds from that record a more accurate picture of the man he actually is. And then he acts from that picture. Consistently. Not waiting until he feels worthy of better things, but acting as though he already is, because in all likelihood he already is, and allowing the results of that behavior to provide the new evidence that gradually, firmly, and permanently raises the setting on the thermostat. The third thing a man must settle is his relationship with time. Most men relate to time as though it were an inexhaustible resource. They spend it with the casual ease of a man drawing from a well he believes will never run dry. There is always tomorrow. There is always next week. There is always a future stretch of time in which the important things will finally be attended to and the life will finally be genuinely lived. But time is not inexhaustible. It is, in fact, the only resource a man has that cannot be replenished by any effort or any ingenuity or any stroke of fortune. Money lost can be earned again. Health within limits can be restored. Relationships with patience and sincerity can be repaired. But time spent is gone with an absoluteness that nothing else in a man's experience quite matches. Time is the one currency that every man spends, whether he chooses to or not, and that none may save. The only question is whether he spends it deliberately or simply lets it drain away. The arithmetic of a life. A man who lives to 70 has roughly 25,000 days. Of those days, the first 6,000 or so, from birth to about 16, are largely given over to formation, to education, to becoming. The last several thousand, depending on a man's health, may be given over increasingly to limitation. This leaves, for the active, purposeful, fully capable middle years of a man's life, something in the neighborhood of 12 to 15,000 days. 12,000 days in which to build something worth building, to love the people who deserve his love, to develop his gifts to their full expression, to make the contribution that only he is equipped to make. 12,000 days is not a long time. It is, in fact, a remarkably short time when the number is written down and looked at directly. And yet most men go through those days treating time as though it renews itself overnight, as though the supply is unlimited, as though the things they are postponing today will be just as available to them 5 or 10 or 20 years from now. They will not be. The people a man loves will age and change, and some will die. The opportunities available to a man at 40 are not the same as those available at 60. The energy and the appetite and the particular quality of engagement that belongs to the middle years cannot be fully recovered in the later ones. Time does not simply pass. It transforms what is possible, steadily and without appeal. What it means to use time well. Using time well does not mean filling every hour with productive activity. That is a misunderstanding of the principle that has caused a great deal of unnecessary suffering. A man who cannot sit still without guilt is not using his time well. He is simply adding busyness to the list of things he uses to avoid his own company. Using time well means two things. It means, first, that the hours a man spends in the deliberate building of something, his work, his craft, his relationships, his character, are spent with genuine intention and genuine engagement. Not going through motions, not appearing busy while actually drifting, but truly present, truly committed, truly pointed in a direction he has chosen. And it means, second, that the hours a man spends in rest and restoration and genuine enjoyment are spent with the same quality of presence. That he is actually resting when he rests, actually enjoying when he is supposed to be at leisure, actually available to the people he is with, rather than perpetually half-absent in some other corner of his mind. A man who gives his working hours to genuine work and his living hours to genuine living is using his time well. And a man who uses his time well will arrive at the end of his years with the particular satisfaction, rarer than most people suppose, of feeling that his life was inhabited rather than merely endured. The fourth thing a man must settle is his peace with the past. Every man carries something, a failure he has not forgiven himself for, a relationship that ended badly and was never properly closed. A decision made in haste or in fear or in ignorance that he has since revisited 1,000 times, always arriving at the same conclusion. I should have known better. I should have done differently. I should have been more than I was. And perhaps he should have. Perhaps there were things he could have done better, said more carefully, chosen more wisely. Most of us, when we look honestly at certain chapters of our lives, can find evidence of failure that we would prefer not to find. This is not unusual. This is simply the record of a man who has lived long enough and tried hard enough and cared enough about the outcome to be capable of genuine regret. But there is a critical distinction that most men miss, a distinction between regret that is useful and regret that is merely punishing. Useful regret says, I did not handle that well. I understand now what I failed to understand then. I will carry that understanding forward and do better with what remains. Punishing regret says, I should have known then what I only know now, and I will not forgive myself for the difference. The first kind of regret is the natural companion of a man who takes his own conduct seriously. It is the voice of conscience doing its proper work, examining, correcting, and improving. A man should listen to it. The second kind is simply cruelty. It holds a man responsible for knowledge he did not have at the time, for wisdom he had not yet earned, for capabilities he had not yet developed. And it demands, as the price of relief, something that cannot be paid, the past revised, the decision unmade, the words unsaid or said differently, none of which is possible. The weight a man carries. A man who has not made his peace with the past carries a burden into every present moment. It is not a dramatic burden. It does not announce itself or demand attention at inconvenient times. It operates below the level of conscious thought as a kind of permanent drag on a man's energy and engagement. He is never quite fully present because some part of him is always back there, in the office where he made the decision he regrets, in the conversation that went wrong, in the year that went badly. That part of him that is back there is not available for the life he is actually living. It is not available for the people who currently deserve his full attention. It is not available for the opportunities that currently stand before him. And so a man who has not settled his peace with the past is, in a very practical sense, operating at reduced capacity. He has given a portion of his finite mental and emotional resources to events that are finished, to situations that cannot be changed, to people who may not even remember the incident that continues to cost him so much. How peace is made. Making peace with the past does not require the agreement of anyone else. It does not require the offending party to apologize, the lost relationship to be restored, or the failed venture to be vindicated. It requires only a decision that a man makes within himself, a private, internal, deliberate closing of accounts. The decision goes something like this: I did what I did with the understanding I had at the time. I have examined it honestly and taken from it what there is to learn. I have, where possible and appropriate, made what amends I could. And now I am choosing to put it down. Not because it does not matter, but because carrying it serves no one, not the people I may have wronged, and certainly not me. This is not denial. It is not the pretense that something difficult did not happen. It is simply the recognition that a man's past is fixed and his future is not. and that any energy spent on the fixed portion is unavailable for the portion that can still be shaped. Settle your peace with the past, not because you deserve to be let off the hook. That is not the point. But because the man you can still become deserves the full measure of your energy and your attention, and he cannot have it while you are still paying rent on something that ended years ago. The fifth thing, your standard of living inwardly. A man must settle is perhaps the most fundamental of all, and it is the one that most men never quite name, even when they sense it most acutely. It is the standard by which a man measures the quality of his life, not his outward standard of living, the income, the residence, the possessions, the visible markers by which the world judges a man's station. Those things have their place, and I do not dismiss them. I am speaking of his inward standard, the measure he applies to his own inner life, the quality of attention he brings to his own thoughts, his own character, his own daily conduct when no one is watching and there is nothing to be gained by performing. Most men have given a great deal of thought to their outward standard of living and very little to their inward one. They have specific goals for their income and vague intentions for their character. They have clear ambitions for the life they want to be seen living and hazy aspirations for the man they actually want to be. And the result, the predictable, almost inevitable result, is a life that looks better from the outside than it feels from the inside. A life that meets the world's criteria for success while consistently falling short of the man's own, privately held but never fully articulated, sense of what a life well lived actually requires. A man can own everything the world tells him he should want and still feel in the quiet hours that something essential is missing, that something is usually himself, the full, honest, unhurried version of himself that only an inward standard can reach. What a high inward standard looks like in practice. A high inward standard is not self-punishment. It is not the relentless application of impossible expectations that leaves a man feeling perpetually inadequate. That is merely a low self-image dressed in the clothing of ambition. A genuine inward standard is something quieter and more durable. It is the commitment a man makes to himself, not to any audience, to think clearly, to act honestly, to speak truthfully, and to treat the people around him with a quality of consideration that is not contingent on whether they notice or reciprocate. It is the decision to read seriously rather than carelessly, to use the hours of self-education with genuine discipline rather than the comfortable pretense of improvement. It is the decision to do his work, whatever that work is, at a level that satisfies his own best judgment rather than merely the minimum that satisfies the judgment of others. It is the decision to be honest with himself about his motives, to ask, when he is about to make a decision, is this what I genuinely believe is right, or is it what is convenient? Is this the action of the man I intend to be, or is it a compromise with the man I have been? These are not large, dramatic questions. They arise in the small, ordinary, unremarkable moments of a man's day, the moments that no biography ever records because they are too quiet and too common to seem significant. But it is in precisely those moments that a man's character is built or eroded, one small, honest choice at a time, one quiet act of integrity when integrity was inconvenient, one moment of genuine attention when distraction was available and easier. The man he becomes. A man who holds himself to a genuine inward standard, who makes that standard the quiet, private, non-negotiable foundation of his daily conduct, becomes, over time, something remarkable, not remarkable in the way that attracts wide attention. Remarkable in the way that a very well-built thing is remarkable when you examine it closely, solid all the way through. No gap between the surface and the interior, no performance required to maintain the appearance, because the appearance and the reality are the same thing. This is the man that the people closest to him trust absolutely, not because he has told them he is trustworthy, but because they have had enough experience of him to know it. This is the man who does not require external validation to maintain his sense of himself, because his sense of himself is grounded in something that external events cannot easily disturb. And this is the man who arrives at the later years of his life with the one possession that neither fortune nor circumstance can give or take away: a settled conscience. The deep, quiet, unshakable knowledge that he lived according to the best standards he could identify, and that he held himself to those standards when it cost him something to do so. There is no peace quite like that peace, and there is no achievement, no salary, no title, no accumulation of any kind that substitutes for it. Settle your inward standard, raise it if you are honest with yourself from where it currently sits, and then live to it, privately, quietly, consistently, for the rest of your years. Now here is the thought I want to leave you with. These 5 things will be settled. One way or another, they will all be settled. The only question is whether you will settle them, or whether time will settle them for you. Time is a patient and impersonal settler of accounts. It does not negotiate. It does not grant extensions. It does not care whether a man was busy or distracted or simply not yet ready. It moves at its own pace, in its own direction, and when it has finished its work, what remains is simply the sum of the choices a man made or failed to make while the opportunity was still before him. A man who settles these things himself, deliberately, honestly, on his own terms, while he still has the time and the capacity to do so, arrives at the end of his working years with his accounts in order, with the knowledge that he looked at the important questions and did not look away, that he chose his direction rather than simply drifting in whatever direction the current was running, that the life he lived was, in its essential character, his own. That is not a small thing. In a world where most men drift, the man who chooses his direction is already remarkable. In a world where most men avoid the hard questions, the man who faces them is already courageous. In a world where most men settle for the life that happened to them, the man who builds the life he intended is already, in the most meaningful sense of the word, a success. You have the capacity for all of that. Every man does. Not every man will use it. The record of human history makes that plain enough. But every man has it. The question, as it always has been, is simply whether you will. Settle these things. Settle them now, while the settling is still yours to do. Because the day will come, for every man without exception, when time makes the settlement for you, and on that day you will want to have already made it yourself.